Well, hi there, it's me, Penny. Welcome back to my practice room for part 2 of the tutorial devoted to Prelude and Fugue number 12 in F minor. This is from book 1 of the Well-Tempered Clavier, BWV 857. It's music by J.S. Bach, and it's a new piece for me. I'm learning it currently, and in my previous tutorial last week, I devoted that session to the fugue. Today, we're looking at the prelude, and there's a lot cooking on my proverbial musical stove. So, without further ado, let's get cooking. Okay, so one of the challenges of this prelude happens right in the opening here. In beat 1, no less. I've got my alto in yellow on the F, which has a double stem, right? So that F is functioning as an alto quarter note and as a soprano 16th note. So I need to hold that note while I play that broken chord, and then because I don't want to have a hole, I don't want this. I exaggerate it a little bit. I want it smooth. I want to hear E and 2E and 3E and I want that yellow alto voice to be the underlying support beams, and these on top to be like tinsel on the tree, like a decoration kind of thing. But I have to get from my 5th finger on that high F back down to the G before another leap. So I'm doing some more finger substitutions. I'm always doing those in Bach. I'm playing the G on beat 2 with finger 2, and I'm switching or substituting to finger 1. I'm doing that at the end of the next bar. Here it is. This one's even more of a stretch because I got my 5th finger on this high G, and then I got to get my 2nd finger to A flat so that I can substitute. Now I could just use my thumb on all those yellow alto notes, but in the process of, there's going to be a gap in between. I mean, if I really slide along the key, I suppose I can eliminate a hole, but with everything that's going on top, that's impossible. So I'm using finger substitutions to eliminate holes in the music. And I'm approaching from above. What I want to hear here are these notes, the yellow, the green, and the blue, which actually later in the bar will be the red. To put it very simply, I'm listening for the long notes. This kind of thing. I'm just playing the quarter notes and the 1/2 note and whole note that we had in there. Just the long notes. Those to me are the anchors, the support beams, the foundation of this musical house. And using fingering accordingly with those substitutions, also approaching from above the key so that I can hear the F in my alto, La, F, G, A flat, F. Now you notice there I was singing A flat and then I sang down to the F, but on the page, the F that comes after the A flat is up here. When I'm trying to figure out the structure for my own ears as a pianist, I'm not a theorist, but just to help me figure out and make sense of the piece, I eliminate some leaps to try to make it singable for me. I'm trying to keep voices close together just for the sake of my listening. And I'm going to put on the screen here, while we're talking about this, it looks like this sheet music kind of has purple chicken pox. And again, I'm sure that the theory police are probably going to be giving me a ticket later, but I'm not a theorist, I'm a pianist, and this is how I work things out. I don't mean that these ways of doing things are right or wrong, or the only way to do it, or forbidden rules, whatever. It's just how I explore the music. So you see here, we got a series of 6 in the first bar, and I'm just going to carry on playing those purple notes. I'm just looking for movement by step, or movement that is a parallel interval, like parallel thirds or 6. We had a third in there. When I hear these notes by themselves, I'm still hearing the whole piece, even though I'm just playing a tiny fraction of it. And I'm going to play the tonic pedal too, because that's essential. All right, so just the purple notes here. We got 6, 6, and I'm going to take comfy registers for these intervals. Third, love the augmented second there. Sorry, there we go. Middle of 4. Another augmented second there. 1, 2, 1, 2, and now a series of thirds. I made a short about this passage. Third after third. This one's a little displaced, but I still count it. 3, and a little arrival here in A flat 2. Measure 10. Some more thirds. There's that augmented second. Here's a 6th. Got a little cadence arrival there. Now measure 13. I'm just going to take them in a mid-register. More thirds. Now here, we're in the middle of 16, and this is the return of the main section, with that D flat in the bass, mind you, but the right hand reminiscent of the opening. I'm going to play my dominant pedal in the bottom there at 17. Now we got a series of thirds here. All with that dominant pedal in the bottom. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a work in progress. This is a new piece. I'm just learning it. So I might change my mind, and these purple markings may become a thing of the past, but these are all steps along the way, and when I get the urge to dig through short notes and try to pick out what might be more essential notes, I do it, and there's great value in that. So let's get back to the fingering and some trouble spots and whatnot here. Starting back at the top, we talked about, and again, it's that A-OK, folks, kind of hand symbol, hand shape there. Taking advantage of sliding front and back on some of the upper keys so that you can manage on the lower notes, especially the black keys. Okay? So here we go, from the top again. Listening for the double stem notes. So I was listening for and then you see the left hand get with its bass in blue and tenor in green, it gets a turn with what the right hand just had. It's not exactly the same, but it starts out the same, and I'm still doing the same kind of some rotating with my hand that I was doing in the right hand, but I'm not having to do the finger substitutions here. Oh, hang on. What am I talking about? Yes, I am. Absolutely. That one's marked in the page. 4 to 5. 4. But because the 16ths don't continue, I don't have to carry on with those substitutions. These little trills, like in the end of 2, right now, because I'm still learning the piece and I'm trying to get my jigsaw puzzle pieces nice and tightly together, I'm not worrying about that trill being pretty just yet. I'm just having it rather straight and very much in time. Sometimes I play a trill like that, and sometimes I'll play it more quick and up to speed and light. I'm still figuring that out because I think some of that will be determined on the tempo. But going back to this opening with those difficult substitutions in my right hand and how I want to hear the long notes, the double stem notes especially, I'm thinking that I don't want to sacrifice quality of tone, like a warm tone, a rich warm tone, just for speed. So probably I'm going to be taking this quite slow, and in which case I might make the trill just a moderate speed kind of thing. We'll see. I don't know. The left hand there, while the right hand is trilling, it has 16th notes, and I don't like to clutter a really busy trill in one hand with other short notes in the other hand. Especially when there's 30-second notes at the end of that trill, as there are here. It can get a little cluttered, and I like clarity. So that's something I'm working out. But again, it goes down to mood and character, and a lot of the technical decisions will be determined once you have a better sense of what kind of character you want to give. All right, so let's back up to middle of measure 2. Here we go. Left hand has that theme, and I'm listening for the double-stemmed long notes here, which are in the bass. To bring those out, I'm approaching from above the key, that is. And my hand is relaxed when it's in the air, and I'm landing nice and deep into the key. Okay? It helps to sing. Oh, but there's this juicy, I love that. How can we blow past that, right? That's another reason why I think I need to go slowly when I finally play this piece. Because otherwise you just don't hear these little delicious moments, like where I have the heart symbol there in the end of measure 2. I got the G in the tenor against the A flat, a semitone above, in the soprano. Plus the G is in the bass, which then resolves to... Oh, it's so delicious. Let's hear that. I have to taste it again. The nice thing about this is there's no calories, right? You can taste all these delicious sounds and you won't get fat. Ah, and after that clash of it resolves, and we get the alto in measure 3. Dum, ba, bum, bum. Oh, it's so melancholy, right? Erwin Bodky, in his book on Bach's keyboard works called F minor, he refers to it as the deathly anguish of the heart. Whew, right? This is full of anguish, this music. I'm hanging on to my alto there in 3 after those 16th notes at the beginning of the bar. Hearing the D flat go to C. And that's just something that I find interesting there. I want to hear that, which means then that if I'm bringing out the yellow, the alto, then I need to back off on the soprano on that business in beat 2 of measure 3. Because if you're playing all these colors at the same level of touch and tone, then none of them are going to stand out. They're like characters, and maybe one moment of the piece you want to put your spotlight on the yellow character, the alto, but you don't want the spotlight on it for the whole time. The other characters have things to say. Okay, so measure 3. Now I'm listening for my bass. Those double stem notes, I'm going to approach from above. C, D flat, E natural, C, F. We have a little cadential arrival there. Kind of thing. This augmented second that we had there in the bass just now, these are kind of shocking. There's another one too in the bass coming up at the end of 4 into 5, G flat to A natural. Right? They're all over the place. These augmented seconds, they stick out, and they contribute to that anguish feel. So don't back off and be shy from those. Enjoy them. Let them be expressive. I love this piece. Measure 3, middle of 3. D flat, augmented second, and then maybe my tenor. I could go to that in the yellow, or maybe the bass, because it's got another augmented second coming up. I'll do that. F. No tricky fingering bits here, though, in 4, middle of 4. Here it is. Whoa, Mr. B. He must have been really dealing with some strong feelings that the day he wrote this, eh? Holy moly. And that there in measure 5, A natural. Keep very diligent with holding the double stem notes for their full value. One of the secrets to playing Bach, apart from being picky and learning to read horizontally, the voices as horizontal lines as opposed to reading in stacks vertically, is to not lose the forest for the trees. It's just to be able to zoom out and see main notes. That's what I'm trying to do here. Before I get to my fingering issue, this little trill here at the end of 5, this has been giving me some problems. On its own, it's okay. Just the right hand by itself, I can do it. But when I have to fit in these 16th notes in the tenor, actually, it's not too bad now because I've been practicing it, but it was sounding like a load of potatoes getting dropped down the stairs. It was sounding a bit like this. Just kind of clunky and jerky. there, when we have trills, I try to remind myself to not get obsessed by the trill. I mean, yes, I'm obsessing technically to get it right, but in terms of listening, the trill is on the bottom of my list of important things to listen for. Here, I'm listening for the green, the tenor. So it can be a good idea to just cover up your ornament symbols for a while and just practice sans ornaments, without ornaments. So you can hear the main notes and not get distracted by all those fluttering decorations. So there, middle of 5. And then our little tenor, our alto. A little cadential arrival there. E flat in the bass to A flat there. Now here in the middle of 6, we got more of those finger substitutions like I had in the opening, the right hand. Here, 2 to 1, but now both hands are doing it at the same time. So in my left hand there, tenor and bass, 4 to 5. Maybe even a little substitution at the top. Because what I want to hear there is a series of thirds in long notes, quarter notes. Continuing with measure 6, middle of that bar, listening for those parallel thirds. I got my finger substitutions. And that resolves to A flat there in the second beat of measure 8. Try to feel when Bach repeats something that many times, again, that's a lot, right? Try to change your sound. Feel like the music is doing something to you, like it's having an effect. For me, the effect there is not the same effect as at the beginning, when I was really feeling the deathly anguish of the heart that Erwin Bodky talked of. But here, this in the middle of 6 into 7 to the arrival on 8, it's kind of like a ray of sunshine. And but actually, I like gray days, so I shouldn't use the sunshine analogy. But I guess it's like a ray of gray clouds. It's just making me happy, right? I should think the opposite of what most people choose. Each one a little bit more beautiful in its grayness. And then they converge, and the hands are, quite close together there in measure 8 compared to there was much more spread open too. So as hands come together, as voices come together, that's maybe another way or opportunity where you can do something to change your sound. I like to kind of pull it back a little bit there. Feel it swell through those thirds, and then as it starts to end, just kind of taper it off. Because that's bringing us to the end of this first section. I'm hearing my tenor on C here. Going to A flat. It helps to have a little bit of theory, so you can play a 5/1 cadence, for instance, in any key. that first one was C, that one was F major, that's B flat major, or the minor keys, whatever it is. Try to get, here in Canada anyway, the Royal Conservatory syllabus, which a lot of students work out of, that includes cadences from the intermediate level and on. And that serves you well because it helps you notice those moments in the music, which are like the musical equivalent of a comma or a period, right? And it always involves a fourth or a fifth in the bass, and it's just a place to go to, like an arrival point, a destination, and then a place to take a little breath afterwards before you proceed. As we're going to now do here in this section 2, we're in measure 9. Now, measure 9. I don't think I've got any. No, the next fingering bit is in 14. So we'll just coast through here a little bit. Now here, middle of 9. There's that theme that we had in the opening. And Bach is always very careful here, it is all of his music actually, very careful to mark double stemmed notes to show that a voice is functioning on 2 levels. So always listen for your double stemmed notes, the long double stem, right? That's what I'm listening for here, my bass, middle of 9, E natural, long, C, and notice that tenor on the A flat, it's half note. All these long notes, hold them their full value. Try to never ever cheat and let a note off early unless you absolutely have to. Be really picky and you'll find wonderful results. So, measure 10. Now here's that theme again in my bass, listening for the double stem notes. I'm approaching from above. G, A flat. Here's the augmented second to B natural. G to C. There's another one of those cadences there, arriving on C minor in the middle of 11. Now we got a little arrival there in C major in 12. And I love what the alto is doing. The alto in the third beat of 12. Bum, 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 bum. It's so singable, right? It's very delicious. And as if once is not enough, the tenor echoes. But we don't get the C at the end. We get the bass go A natural, F. Oh, it's so lovely. On 12. This is not, I'm singing the alto. And even though we don't get the C at the end of the tenor, we get a rest instead. But we hear it because we just heard it in the alto, right? And the alto, hold that quarter note C, da, da, dee, da, as the tenor does this little echo. And then we got measure 13. More double stem notes that I'm listening for. And a little bit of syncopation in the tenor. I'm singing the alto. Bass, more substitutions here. 4 to 5 in my bass. Substitutions up the wazoo. Middle of 13. E natural resolving to F. cadential arrival. This is my point. Give the keys more depth. In this case, I'm approaching from above, because when you approach from the above the key, the hand presumably, hopefully, when it's in the air, is loose and relaxed, right? Like when you hang it at the side of your body, just like limp. And then as it lands on the key, it firms up into its nice piano hand position. And the arm weight from your upper arm, when the hand is in the air, is also being triggered, that natural drop of the weight, which gives us good fullness of tone. And as we land on the key, there's a little bit of rotation. I'm not rotation as in, just to keep it simple, just upper arms moving away from the body a little bit, as though you were going to put your hand in your armpit kind of thing, that there was room for your hand to fit in there, and not that your upper arms are like locked up against your body, right? So that all helps with creating a full, rich sound in the places we need it, like cadences. So middle of 14. Okay, here we go, carrying on. I love the bass here. I'm listening for my soprano there against the tenor, and the alto, this is beat 2 of 15, is like a little, I don't know, little piece of angel wing, or something delicate. Body. But structurally, I'm listening for bum, bum, bum. I'm hearing that third D flat to F. You can hear how I'm giving more power to that note and less, right? If you're not hearing an actual, literal change in the sound, then you're not exaggerating enough. Got to do more to make these things heard. But whatever voice you do find the most interesting at any given moment, go deeper into the key, use your arm, rotate a little bit more, put some of your sitting bones into your lower body into releasing the arms so that those notes can be heard. Now I got a double stemmed notes in my tenor here, beat 3 of 15, so I'm approaching from above. I'm hearing my E natural in the alto there. Oh, there's that augmented second in the tenor. I could just play it all day and be absolutely content. If I did nothing else, if I achieved nothing else and had no more new clothes or no more new treats or whatever, and just languish in some of these sonorities, just linger in some of these sonorities, I'd be very content. I'm talking, of course, of the middle of 16, where we have the D flat in the bass against the held over C in the tenor, which creates a dissonant. It's a 7th. And then in our alto / soprano, because this is another double stem note, we got the F. We still got that D flat in the bass, which you know wants to resolve. It's desperate to resolve down a half step to the dominant, which it does in the next bar, 17. And this is the beginning, really this middle of 16 is the, what I call anyway, the third section, the return of the main section kind of thing. And you want to enjoy that. And a slow tempo, for me, I think, is my ticket to success in hearing these things. So 16. such an enchanting moment. Middle of 16 through 17 and 18. Oh my gosh, with that dominant pedal in the bottom. Oh, and those tied notes. I'm doing umpteen finger substitutions through there. You can see it in this overhead view. And this brings us to one of the hardest spots I've been having. We're almost at the end. This is measure 19, where the left hand has all three of the four voices. It's got that dominant pedal still. It's got the green in 19 with F, G, A flat, F, G, E natural, F. And then in yellow, A flat, B flat, C, A flat, B flat, G, C, B natural, and then basically C, it's just displaced by the little 16th rest. I gotta do all of that, my gosh, woo, with one hand. I cannot help any of that left hand with my right hand, because my right hand, the soprano in red, she or he has got plenty to deal with on their own. Initially, I was playing these, trying to eliminate any lifting on the keyboard, lifting off of the keyboard, and holding down at least one note, as you see me doing as I substitute like a crazy person or just like a really obsessive person. But that was not sounding interesting after a while, because I notice in this right hand that is quite interesting, the change of the contour. Again, rhythmically, as I always say in Bach, or often say, the rhythm is not interesting. It's just a series of 16th notes, but it's absolutely enchanting and delicious, because we have these wide leaps with this mix of small leaps up and down on either side. It's so beautiful. And I'm trying, I don't want it to sound notey. I don't want this. Just close the lid on my piano and like walk away if it's starting to sound like that. I'm trying to make sense. So I'm looking for little motives. And because I noticed that this piece has that in the beginning, and that the first note of those is a double stem note, I'm thinking about the second, third, and fourth of these 16th notes. So in the beginning, I think if you leave out the front 16th note, it can be an interesting little motive. And I pulled out the fugue, and wouldn't you know, as I talked about in the last video for the fugue, in the, I guess it's the counter subject of the fugue, measure 5, the tenor in green, has that same motive. I mean, the notes are moving by step. They're not moving all up, down with different spaced intervals. But rhythmically, it's very reminiscent. Or just taking the 3/16, right? And that motive, as we saw, gets tossed all around the fugue. So to me, what I'm trying to say is that the 16th notes in this piece, especially here in the soprano at measure 19, which begins with a 16th rest, is reminiscent of the counter subject of the fugue. So I'm trying to like enjoy this moment, this special moment, and wave my little poof, my little magic wand, and make this lovely. But how do I do that? So I ended up trying to approach those double thirds in my left hand with the same fingering, but from above the key, with a little bit more of a deliberate touch, a little more deeper into the key, so that it would position the front of those beats with a little more oomph thereby hopefully allowing me in those second, third, and fourth 16th notes of each beat, as we saw in the fugue, to give those a little bit more lightness and spin. And this is what I'm working out, so it's probably not going to sound very good, but I'm trying. I should also add, in these 16th notes, not just in the right hand here at 19, but in general, throughout, I'm overlapping. Another term for that would be finger pedal, which just means like I'm playing a note, and as I play the next one, the previous note is still down, and then I release it. Hold the next note as I play the following one, then release the previous, this kind of thing. So it creates a little bit of pedal effect, and if you can achieve a pedal quality from your fingers, first and foremost, before using your foot, then by all means do so. It's a more clear, better quality of color and articulation. So I'm trying to do all of these things here with this pedal tone in the bottom. It's also hard because I got to hold that C in the bass, and I want to hear finally a long note in the soprano with that E natural quarter in 21. F, and that F that's a half note in the soprano on measure beat 2 of 21. Hold that for the full 2 beats, even though you got all this stuff going on underneath. 21. Maybe don't kill the note, but that low C really give a good generous touch there, I think. That G quarter note in the tenor, I'm taking that with 2, substitute to 1, and then the last 3 16th notes, 2, 3, 4. Notice that the first 2 of those notes, the B flat and the C, have a double stem. And the lower one, B flat, has a dot as well. It's a dotted 8th as an alto. As a soprano, it's a 16th. So you got to hold the B flat and the C, even though it's just a 16th note for the soprano. And when you play that final chord, definitely approach from above the key for a nice clear sound, so we have no residue of that. Okay, that's all I got to share for you. This has been fun. Let's wrap it up now. Well, the tutorial may be over for this Prelude and Fugue, but I'll tell you, I've got a lot of work to do to get this ready to perform for you. And I look forward to practicing and further bonding with this music and getting to know it. It's so delicious, right? Happy practicing to you. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you're managing to fit together the musical jigsaw puzzle pieces that are these preludes and their respective fugues. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you again soon for more explorations of Bach's music. Take care. Bye-bye.